All right, let's get started on this test review, Unit 9. This should be just an extra, say, helper that maybe y'all need after going over the test review in class. But this also could help those who haven't been in the class, so there you go. Anyways, let's move on. Alright, so here's some things that I think could help you get ready for the test that you can put on your note sheet. So here you go. You can put these things on. That sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse, and the cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. And then, okay, so look, basically it comes down to three things, basically. We either have an angle and a side, and we use the trig function, whatever it may be, sine, cosine, or tangent, and the angle, and the side is either on the bottom, so we're looking for x, and x is on top, and we need to multiply the two numbers, or where the number is on top, and the side is on the bottom, and then we need to divide. If we're looking for an angle, we're going to get two sides, and we're going to do the trig inverse, like sine inverse, cosine inverse, tangent inverse. Okie dokie. Oh, and apparently the cat decides she wants to be in on this one too. Okay, so on simple problems like this, we want to make sure we can say, hey, again, here is the 9, 12, 15. We know for sure that the 15 is the hypotenuse. We're going to say that sine is opposite over the hypotenuse, cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. Okay, so here's that hypotenuse. Now, in reference to A, 9 is adjacent because the 12 would be the opposite to A. Okay, keep that in mind. So then that means this is 9 over 15. Cosine of A, adjacent over the hypotenuse, 9 over 15. Tangent A would be the opposite over the adjacent. The opposite side would be 12. The adjacent side would be 9. If you look at B, sine B, there's B up there. So 9 is the opposite for B, and that would make that 9 over 15, opposite over hypotenuse. And then the tangent would be the 9 over 12, opposite over the adjacent. These type of problems shouldn't be that hard, especially if you know that stuff right there. Next problem. Ooh, okay. Anyways, so on these two problems, the reason why I look at these, again, notice here we got an angle. Make sure you know which side they're asking for. So like here, they're asking for ST, so that's this one right here, which is the hypotenuse. Okay, and 44 degrees is right there. That 65 is adjacent to that 44 degrees. Notice how I'm labeling everything. Okay, so then here I can say cosine, because adjacent over hypotenuse, I'm working with adjacent hypotenuse, is equal to 65 over x. One again is like this. You divide the two, and then you would type that into your calculator and press enter, and you get 90.36. Make sure again you're showing me your work and showing me the setup, otherwise I will not count it right. Here you can see on this one, I was looking for the opposite and I have the adjacent, so I'm going to use tangent. Notice how the number is on the bottom, the variable is on top. That means this time I'm going to multiply the two things, and that's what that meant by that whole multiply and divide on the trig function that I showed you earlier. Okie dokie. So here's number 7. I drew number 7 because, well, I just didn't feel like taking a picture of that one. Okay, we want to work on angle B. Notice here, I gave you two sides, which means I'm going to do some type of inverse. 31 is the opposite, 18 is an adjacent, so here I'm going to use tangent inverse. 31 over 18, when I press enter, I will get 60 degrees, I will get the degree symbol. Here is angle, or number 8, same thing, that's an adjacent and a hypotenuse, and so I can type those in, same thing, adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine inverse, and I would get my answer there. Okay, would you, okay, I'll give you all a bonus word too. Let's say worth like 5 points or something like that. So if you're listening to me and you write the bonus word onto your test, your bonus word is tigress. Alright, number 9 and number 10, you would type those straight into the calculator as is. There is nothing else to do. You just type them in, press enter, and you get your answer, which should be about 47 degrees, I guess 48 degrees, and 23 degrees, depending on if you round up to the nearest degree or not. Again, something you could easily type into the calculator, should be simple. Alright, number 11 through 13, here we have something like this. Notice here I've got an angle, and a side. So that means to find the third angle, angle D in this case, I can add 90 to 51 because, again, that little square means 90. So you're always adding 90 to it, and then subtract from 180. And then I would get 39 degrees. On number 12, there's EF and there's DE. Now, in reference to the 51 degrees, because I'm working out the 51 degrees. I mean, you could work out the 39, but I don't know. Anyways, so here you can see this is the adjacent and the y is the opposite. Y, the 18 is the hypotenuse. So since I'm got, like, say for the x, I wanted to use adjacent and hypotenuse, I can go okie dokie, cosine of 51 is equal to x over 18. Whereas DE would be the sine because that's the opposite over the hypotenuse. And since the 18 is on the bottom, the variables are on top, I need to multiply both of them, and those are the answers I would get. And there you go. And again, guys, these are things you could even like test out. You can try these on your calculator, like say on your phone, and kind of work them from there. Although, keep in mind, you will not be allowed to use your phone, and your phones better be put away, because I'm not letting y'all use your phones and trying to use some little app that will help give you the answers or something like that. Alright, here we go, 13 over 5. I got two angles. I want to find two angles, and I want to find the third side. Okay, so here we go. Notice in reference to angle F, since they asked for angle F first, I'm going to use F. 5 is the opposite, 13 is a hypotenuse. So I'm going to do sine, because opposite over hypotenuse, sine inverse of 5 over 13 gives me about 23 degrees. Then I can add that to the 90 to find the third angle, or to find angle G, and subtract from 180 to get 67. Then the missing side is x, so I'm going to say cosine, that's the adjacent, x over 13, since I already know the hypotenuse, and I get about 11.97. Or if I run it up to the nearest whole number, it would be 12. Okay, so you kind of see how these work. Again, nothing too difficult. Alright, so let's look at, say, some of these little angles of elevation and depression. I'll talk about some pictures about that in a minute. You can see how this one worked. Again, notice all I'm doing is I'm identifying what's my angle, what am I looking for. Remember, if you're looking for an angle, you do an inverse, and you just type them in and you get the answers. Show the work, show your setup. Notice how, again, I'm labeling everything. Same thing here, opposite, adjacent to 19 degrees. So that means I'm using tangent 19, 120 over x, and get 348.5 feet. That's really all it is. And again, I might put some pictures in there where you have to identify angle, elevation, or depression. If I give you something like this and say, here's your horizontal line. Okay, to go from the horizontal to the angle, this would be an elevation because the line is above the horizontal. But, and let me do this in a different color, if I go below, that's a depression. Maybe you need to add that to your note card. I don't know. That's up to you. And that just tells you that, like, you draw a horizontal line. Do you need to go up or do you need to go down as you're trying to draw it, if you need to do that for some type of thing, or if you need to identify. I might add those in for some easy questions, but we'll see. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. And if y'all have any questions, well, hopefully you'll be ready for the test. Thank you so much for your time. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all when I see y'all.